Dun, dun.
Hey guys, welcome back to Burnout Brighter. Thank you so much for sticking with us. This is episode 133, and we have an amazing special guest that I have been trying to get on, and she is here. It is Verta from gameHERS. And before I even jump into that, because I know you guys are just waiting for me to forget, and I didn't, I'd like to especially welcome my lovely co-host, Matt.
You're keeping me on my toes this time, D. I 100% thought you forgot, and I was just going to roll with it, sit here and cry to myself, but it's cool. We have a much cooler and more important guest than I today, Destiny.
We do. We do.
You all are too
So, Verta, I just want to say thank you for coming on. I'm so excited to have you here. I know there was some scheduling stuff on both sides, but we made it happen, and here you are. And can I just say you are absolutely gorgeous? I
you're
love
sweet.
your look.
It's I appreciate that, especially on a day where I've just had so much happening. So I'm just gonna receive that and say thank you, because it's been a
I love
day.
that you're able to
And all in my
accept
feels today.
Well, I hope we can brighten it up a little
I
bit
think you
at the
will.
end of the
I
day.
think you will.
Yes.
Already feels good already.
Great. Awesome. So actually let's jump into what we've been up to actually. So I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I know. So what have I been up to? Hey Destiny, what have you been up to?
Okay. Hey Destiny, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? You know what? Honestly, I haven't really done much. I'm still watching Pickle and Peanut.
Wait, what are you watching?
Pickle and Peanut. It's this cartoon that was on Disney, but when you watch it, you're kind of like, Disney approved this? Because there's some stuff happening in Pickle and Peanut. Yeah, but it's really funny. So I've been watching that. Me and my best friend have been trying to work out every morning, and let me tell you, yesterday we did some squats, and not yesterday, the other day we did some squats, and I could not move yesterday. It was ridiculous.
I believe it.
You know, after you've got a really good workout on, and then you have to go to the bathroom and you sit down and you're just I don't know if I'm ever going to leave this position again. Yes, absolutely. So
I do know that feeling. Sadly.
So I've been trying to keep up with that. Today I didn't work out, but I went walking. I took a really long walk, and I've been trying to just be more positive. I've gotten some books that are kind of self-help books and questioning and where are your goals at and things like that, because I can get really down on myself just with life in general, because it doesn't always play by your plan book, right? It's constantly changing, and you got to be able to move with it, flow with water. So that's kind of what I've been up to, and I'm going to throw it to Matt for him to tell me, and then we're going to roll it right into Verta, and then we're going to get to the main topic. So, Matt, what have you been up to lately?
I've been playing some Dying Light 2. Shout out to Stride PR for hooking us up with that code. It's really cool. I'm enjoying it so far. I liked the first one fine, but I never finished it. There was just something about the flow of the first game that didn't really click with me, but from everything that I saw from the second one, I knew I needed to play it. And it's cool. The choices seem to genuinely matter. The parkour and the combat aren't as sticky as I would like a little bit. I still think I'm learning the flow of everything a little bit. So it's cool. And I got my Steam Deck today. So I've spent a bunch of time completely, messing with it, and I played a little bit of God of War. Excuse me.
But we're not going to talk too much about that, Matt, because we're going to have a whole video where we both talk about it, right?
Yeah, but I'm just giving my impressions so far, because we're going to do our full thing 6 months from now when you eventually get yours.
We're going to be 6 months from now.
That was just a little shade.
Shade. I know.
Destiny is so quick with the shade that I'm starting to try to build up my confidence as you get to it first. No, I did it first this time, Destiny. So yeah, it's the form factor. The thing is big, physically big.
Bigger than the Switch, I saw.
Yeah, quite a bit bigger. And just the form factor of it is definitely going to take some getting used to. But it's really cool so far. I'm excited to dig in a little bit more. Starting to getting some emulators going, trying to figure out Game Pass, a whole bunch of stuff. There's I'm looking up tutorials and they're yeah, you have to run this code line through this thing. And I'm oh my God, this is going to take some work. So D, when you do get yours, hopefully I'll have figured everything out. So I'll be able to walk you through what to do.
That's what I like to hear.
I know.
So
Pulling it back around.
Teamwork.
And I love that you actually brought up reading, Dee, because I've been reading more in the last couple of weeks than I have in years. I used to do a lot of reading when I was a kid. I used to like, me and my
Same.
dad would go to the library and I'd like read like 4 books and just like burn through them in a week. But, just with time and stuff, I've kind of fallen off of it. But, I had COVID a few weeks ago and there were times where just like my brain would just not stop running, especially
Right.
at night. And I had a lot of, anxiety attacks and stuff going on trying to go to sleep. And especially with just like the state of the world, I was, doom scrolling on Twitter or just spending way too much time on Reddit. So what I started doing now is that like, as I'm getting ready for bed and like, my body's tired, but my brain's not yet. I'll just start reading. So I've read through 3 different Star Wars books already, just because like I
Nice.
grew up on them and like I've just been, I really loved them growing up. And I was kind of like, been on a bit of a Star Wars kick lately, watching Clone Wars and Rebels. And yeah, I've really like it. I'm glad to be finding that kind of space for myself again, and just like kind of ending the day with like I'm just gonna read. I'm not gonna go online. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
take this time for myself, and it's been great. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. What
That's a
about
good way to
yourself,
wind down.
Berta? What have you been
I
up
was
to?
gonna jump in and say, Verta, he's on it. He's on it today. I'm proud
He's
of him.
on
I'm
it.
proud
I'm
of
so
him.
proud.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here on a day where all of this is coming together. So I actually just got back from South by Southwest last week. It was my first time going to South by. Have you either of you gone?
No.
I haven't.
Okay.
No.
So I've attended many conferences in my life, and this is the only one that I would go back to. Like I
Ooh.
left there, and I think it's because, and so right now there's been a lot of processing going on for me, and I found that at South by, I'm gonna say what they say, right? Because I have to be like the locals.
Yeah,
They
you're
call
in
it
it.
South by.
Yeah.
I kept saying South by Southwest, South by. There's too many words, right? So at South by, I felt like it was a very expansive experience, meaning that you get to, we kind of just went with the flow. We're a startup. We're going to talk more about ourselves. So we didn't necessarily get the badges, but we did all of this side activations. And the beauty of it, it's like a very serendipitous, you have to like kind of meet people and talk to them type of experience. And then you find out what they're doing and you can go to these different events. And why I loved it was because the thought, so when you go to a regular conference, it's usually about a particular topic. So you might find like a range of thinking within that specific topic, but you're not really talking about other genres of things. And I feel like South by was like that, right? So you're
Mhm.
talking, you go into a room and they're talking about Web3 and crypto and NFTs. You go into another room, they're talking about music. You go into a room and somebody like one of the whatever the singer is from Linkin Park is actually talking about crypto, or you go and you're talking about education or all of these things. And so it was actually so amazing. And then the best part was, that I stayed at this hotel quite randomly because it was super expensive. So I had to find the cheapest one that I could find because I was really last minute with my booking. And every room had a record player. And they had,
Whoa.
yes, it's called
That's
the
so
Otis in Austin. And every room has a record player. And then they have a little area downstairs where they're like curate records for you. So you go and you say like what you're interested in. And so I was introduced to 2 new artists that way. And then I listened to the last one. I like Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Oh
Like
yes.
just hearing that on vinyl, just
Oh my
hearing
God.
anything on vinyl, it's just
Mhm.
like, oh, and and coincidentally I have my
Yeah.
throwback
There you
too.
go.
That was like so not even planned. And so that was been really, really cool just to listen. I got some Nora Jones. They introduced me to like these 2 other people that I hadn't heard of and another album. So it was really cool to like, after all of that stuff going on, to go back to my room and be able to kind of decompress with some records. So
Mhm.
that was super cool. So I'm really just, that's a little bit of what I've been up to personally. I'm actually, my son, he'll turn 20 actually in a couple of days. And one of the things that we do is we find shows to watch together. And so we're watching Ozark right now.
Okay.
And I don't know if anyone has watched it. Like, this is
that with
crazy.
Jason Momoa?
No, this is with
No, that's a different one.
Matt Bateman, Justin Bateman.
Jason Bateman.
Okay.
Jason Bateman. Thank you.
Jason Bateman.
Justine.
So Jason
Justine
Momoa,
is his
that's
sister.
why.
I know, right? We had
Sorry.
all the
Sorry,
J's and
guys.
J's.
Sorry.
So I would never have watched it had he not told me, but we're definitely in it to win it right now. So I've been into that. And I appreciate what you said, Matt, about both of you about reading. I have not read as much as I have in my life. I've not read during this pandemic. It's been hard for me to hold space for that. So I want to find a way to bring that back into my life. So yeah, so I'm just like, all these ideas are swirling and I'm just like processing and trying to figure out, this is the other thing. It's not that all the ideas are great ideas at South by, it just opens me up to thinking about how I would like, what I could take and put into my like actual life. And so that's what I loved about it. So that's what I've been up to.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, like, anytime that you can experience something that kind of opens up your mind to other
Yeah.
possibilities, I always consider that a plus.
Yeah.
And just being open to accepting other ideas, regardless if, you know, you can always learn something from somebody
Yeah.
else's like ideas and things like that. So that I'm
Agreed.
glad you had a good time. Like,
Yeah, it
that
was
sounds
really dope.
dope.
It was really dope. I would totally go back. I would totally go back.
I want to go to that hotel. Like,
Yeah, I was
don't
gonna
even need
say.
to go to the conference. I just want to go to the
So
hotel and
cool.
experience
I was
that.
in love. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like a kid in a candy store.
That's an incredible concept. I never even,
Right?
yeah.
Isn't it so sweet? It was really, I was like, this is so cool.
There's so many concept hotels that I'm just kind of like, you know, I like similarly to you, Verta, especially like last minute traveling. Sometimes it's just kind of like, I just need somewhere decent to stay. But
Yeah.
like, that's the kind of place that I would like actively seek out
Yes.
because it just sounds like an awesome place to stay on
Mhm.
top of the fact that you're going and doing so many amazing things. So like, I'm glad that that
Mhm.
was there for you in that way. Cause yeah, like you
Yeah.
said, just especially after a long day, just
Yeah,
tossing on a vinyl and just
exactly.
shutting down
It
is
was so
just,
cool. It
mhm.
was so cool. It's a really thoughtful. I think it's a thoughtful move on their part. Austin's also known for music, and so it was just. I really appreciated it a lot.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I know I said that like 30 times, but seriously, I am glad that you had an incredible time. But now we're going to find out more about why I brought you on and why I was so excited. As soon as I saw gameHERS, I was like, you know, going through my Instagram, what we do on a normal day, just, you know, and I saw it and I was like, what? Like, there's like this safe space for women in gaming, and somebody actually took the time to create it, and it looks impeccable. Like, your logo, your color scheme, like everything is so well put together. And you guys have an app, okay?
Yeah.
And I got in on the I'm not very like chatty with a lot of people, but I wanted to see what the app was about. I think I got in on the first round of like what's
Oh,
it
were you in the
called?
beta?
Yes, I was in the beta.
Thank you for being a beta tester. We're always so
Yeah.
grateful for the early adopters in our beta group. Yay.
Yeah, I was super excited about it. It ran so well. There were so many people on there. Very, very positive space.
Yeah.
I wish I would have used it more, but I'm just not a chatty type of person where I meet a lot of people. I'm way more introverted, but I would say that I love the fact that like people were posting things, because I remember going back for looking at Halloween, and I definitely posted a picture of like what I did for Halloween. Like, we dressed up as Thelma and Daphne from Scooby-Doo. And I was like just seeing everybody's like post, and like it's not just about games, right? It's just women coming together and talking about things and asking advice and like giving advice, and it was just really great. So kudos to you for making that come together, because that it just ran so smoothly. I didn't have any issues with bugs or anything like that. And I've tried a lot of dating sites. This is not a dating app,
It's not
guys.
a dating
I just
app.
want you to know.
It's not
So
that
this
type
thing
of dating, but I think that
Right.
So I'll say, well, I'll say a few things. One, I'm so glad that you actually came into the beta, and it is, we do intend for it to be kind of a good vibes place. And that doesn't mean that all you talk about are the good things in life. It's just that we want to create a space where all of the things that go on in our lives that impact us, we can talk about them without shame, without judgment, and still love games. And I think a lot of times, we say that we center women in the app, and that's who we are looking, centering women and femme-identifying folks. And we say center specifically because it doesn't mean other people are not welcome there, but you have to understand that that's who we're centering. And if we're centering them, ourselves, it means that all of who we are comes to us when we play video games. And I don't think that that's not the case for those that are not, that don't identify as women. I just think often spaces try to make you feel a kind of way if you're not like going hard about the game, or that's not the place to talk about this, or we don't care about your pet or whatever. But like, why? We actually think those things are really all a part of the community. And so I have to give I'm one of the 4 co-founders of the gameHERS, and we launched in March of 2020 officially. We had been together for maybe 6 months. I can't even remember. Several months before we decided that we were like officially going to launch, and we came together around this idea that women who game, well, first of all, just the stats, and we are a for purpose and for profit company, so we make it very clear. A lot of people assume that we're a nonprofit. We are not, and the reason is because when you look statistically at the billions of dollars to be made in the gaming industry, and this is not just competitive gaming, this is just within the industry, and that viewership of gaming has
Did she cut out
surpassed.
for you?
She did.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Let's just give it a second for
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
Oh,
Welcome
there we go.
back.
Am I
Yeah.
back?
Yeah, I cut out for
Where'd
a
you
second.
lose me? I was being chatty,
For
chatty.
profit.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
for
for
profit
profit.
and for purpose.
Yeah.
And we say that intentionally because a lot of people tend to think that if you're women led, or if your goal is to amplify, elevate, make space for, and get women paid, that you must be a nonprofit. And it's fascinating, actually, how many people just make that assumption off the bat. And we're not. We believe that for profit is one of the ways that we can make sure that money, resources, opportunity can be put into the hands of women and femme identifying folks, because we make up literally half the earth and just about half of all gamers that are out there. You just don't see our faces. And so we came together and we actually interviewed and talked to, I'd probably say like thousands of gamers across the world, and kind of asked them what are the things that they would want in a community, or in a space, or in media, or whatever. And this whole, the whole notion of elevating and amplifying and really just being able to bring your full self was really what came up the most. And not saying that the things that are really hard about being a woman or femme identifying are tons of other groups that the system historically marginalizes. Not to say that those toxic and harassing things are not what we talk about. We actually do. And we know that the way to actually address those is to have a solution. And one of them is that we are women led. We're largely women like on our team. We are looking to also then look within the intersections that make women, right? So LGBTQ plus folks, different races and ethnicities and backgrounds. Like women are not monolithic. There's not one type of woman, one type of femme identifying person in the world. So those are like kind of some of our pillars and tenets. And for me, coming into found the company was really about community. And my title actually shifted because we realized that community is really everything that we do. So I used to be like the chief community officer. But then we were like, wait, we all have to be really, really at the forefront of community. And so I'm chief innovation officer now. Heather and Laura, two of my co-founders, they really spearheaded the app and the development of the app on that team, and have to focus and dig in on community, right? We have app ambassadors. We do all of these things about building the community there. And then there's the media arm of what we do that Rebecca does a lot of work around the media, the marketing, sponsorships, and what does it mean for our community to be influencers, not in the terminology of what we know influencers to be today, but actually have a say and an influence in the direction of the industry. And so I feel like that's kind of like the nutshell of it. People will always ask the question, well, Verta, are you a gamer? And I am. That said, I always used to consider myself more gamer adjacent. And it was actually a friend of the gameHERS, Christina Amaya. She's one of the founders of Latinx in Gaming. She worked with us on a lot of things as we started. She would always talk to me about this notion of gatekeeping that term gamer, and that we actually need to like not do that so much, right? Like, it, just because you play solely cozy games, or you might only play indie games, or you might like 90% of the time play on your mobile device, doesn't make you not a gamer. It doesn't have to be someone who's competitive and ranked on Apex, or, grinding all the time on it doesn't have to be that. Like, that's actually one type of gamer as well. So I would always say, no, I'm not. I'm just gamer adjacent. My kids game. I used to game sometimes. But then I was like, well, no, I do. But I think that I, like many young girls, were not encouraged, or felt like there was a period in time where it shifted from you can do this, or you're more of a spectator of the guys doing it, or your cousins doing it, or whoever, whoever has the, and stuff like that. So I do game and enjoy it. I'm like not I'm like pseudo competitive, and But for me, the big thing was around making sure that we have a community that honors, respects, and centers. The safety aspect is important to us, but we also know that it's hard to make everything safe. We make sure though that we have guidelines and regulations in place to make it. I think safety is determined by the people that are there, and I think people in our app feel safe. I can't say it's like safe until they say it's safe, right? Like, or in our community feel like it. So,
Absolutely.
all right, I said a lot of words, so I'm gonna stop. That was a lot of words.
No, that was great. So, Verta, I really, really liked what you said about making a safe space. And I'm glad that that was like one of the main focuses of what you used, because we try to do that when we bring people onto our podcast. Like, we're all about diversity, inclusion, and just making people feel like they're welcome. So one of my questions one of my questions is, all right, we're not going to worry about grammar. One of my questions, thank you, is
We weren't English teachers.
We were. That's what's so terrible.
Yeah, I
know. Oh my God.
know. We both taught in Korea together. That's actually where we met. So this
Actually, we did.
And one of my questions is, I liked that you talked to your community and you went across and you spoke to a lot of people. How did you get in touch with all of these different people in order to like get their input to create gameHERS?
I think that you'll be surprised how many people will say yes to you if you ask them. So some of it was looking on Twitter, right? Because, Twitterverse exists and like all people on Twitter. Some of it was LinkedIn and just like reaching out that way, and then just doing our own Google searches and finding people's email addresses, and then they would connect us to other people, right? We also then, when we first pre-launch, we went to PAX East and we just collected an email list. And so other than getting people's emails, and then we could start blasting them out to get their information. And that's really how we started that. And I think that, I do think that if you ask people and tell them what you're doing, that the majority of them will be willing to engage in conversation with you. And so we just like started asking people, quite honestly, just like tapping our own networks. And then those started to broaden. And then it's just like kind of combing spaces and being like, okay, here are these people, let's talk to them. And some people will say no, and that's fine, right? That's their prerogative. But that was really, it was just kind of like, that's how we did it, word of mouth. And then we were eventually able to like have a large enough email list where we could send that out and send a form and say this, hey, right? And then eventually, as our community grew, we got a Discord, all of those things. And now we can just send out surveys to our community and do it that way, because we still engage our community even 2 years later around questions of, and I think if you were a beta tester, like we talked to that crew like constantly, and we still talk to the people in our app constantly to ask them questions. What is it that you're seeking? How can we make this a better experience?
Really important. Sorry, Matt, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just going to say that's really important. And I think like we've been trying to do that as well, to be like, and I find trying to engage people has been really hard for me. I don't know about you, Matt, but like trying to pull in people who are not like other content creators, but just reaching out and being like, what would you guys like to see us talk about? What are you interested in? Like, we'll get like comments back from like friends and things like that, but like just strangers and like people who come like pass through, it's really hard to like keep those people there. So one of my questions was, once you created this space and you had talked to all these people, was there a lot of like, did a lot of them come back and like support you afterwards once you launched gameHERS?
It's a really good question. I do think that moderation is key. And so we were very just like intentional around who was moderating each of our spaces and having them engaging with the community. So I think that was one really key thing, right? So we had a really like,
we curse
can I
all the
curse
time
on your podcast? Or what's the rule there? Awesome. I just need to ask anyway. I'm just going to do it and then you'll have to bleep it out. But like just kick ass people that kind of knew.
I was going to do it anyway and you were just going to have to bleep it out. Yeah,
just wanted to prepare you. Okay. It's like, it's my love language. One of my love languages is cursing appropriately. And you all spoke, like appropriate, like just adds great emphasis. But we just really some like really kick ass people to build and then moderate our Discord, right? And like really having those conversations, having a mod team that's one going to help like regulate and enforce and do all those things, but also talk to people. I think that was like one thing that was really key when we were able to, when, you know, before COVID, going to events was also another way, because I just think that there was something, and
Right.
that's been really hard the last 2 years, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
because when you go and you can actually meet people and people can like put your face to a company, that was really important as well. And I think that also engaging with the community anywhere. So if you have Instagram, if you have Twitter, if you have any of those places, I think people fail to understand. And we're actually growing in this. So I'm not even saying that we've like perfected it. But as we've grown, we have to figure out how to do it best, is actually moderating and engaging with your
Right.
community no matter where they are, because you can put content out, but the content itself is not going to
Right.
engage with the people. It will bring them to you. So
Mm-hmm.
I just think that it's key to just like chat people up and like really do that. I have a, you know, we have a Twitch, I have a show on our Twitch channel, and I think that that was important, right? Like that, as if, you know, as part of the company, or, you know, like our community comes on, I play with our ambassadors, right? Like things like that. I think that's really important, the human element, and to do it at whatever, like however it feels comfortable for you, right? So I'm more comfortable doing that. Heather and Laura have a different way that they kind of get down, and they do a lot of like in-app events, or they'll go and have like a meetup or different things like that. And like Rebecca and I are the ones that went to South by, because we kind of love that aspect of like networking with different people and meeting people in person, and then putting yourself out there to be on
Mm.
panels and to do all of these different things. I think that that's one of the ways. And then I think partnering. So
Yeah, I've been doing
how
a
can
lot
you
of that.
partner with other
Yeah.
like-minded, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it seems like, I
Thank
feel like you
you.
are putting yourself out there. I think you're
Oh
not
yeah,
giving
thank
yourself
you
enough
so much.
credit,
I've been
perhaps.
working on it. We've been
Mm-hmm.
doing a lot of partnerships. Like for Black History
Yeah.
Month, we did a special, and then we did the
Mm-hmm.
mental health, and then we're doing something else for Mental Health Awareness Month. So yeah, I guess we are engaging, and we're gonna start doing streaming and things like that. We did do a stream with Amazon Prime, and that was
Mm-hmm.
really fun. That was
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
fun
cool.
watching that. So but
Mm-hmm.
no, thank you for the
Yeah.
tips though, because I still feel like we're still learning. Just like you said, you haven't perfected it yet, but like
Yeah.
talking to somebody else.
Yeah. Do you all have
No,
moderator?
we
Do you have
haven't we haven't even
moderators?
started that yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah. No, but I think that, so yeah, but I think that that's, so if you have, what I would say, the other thing that was really important is that you have people in your community, like you just said, that we reach out and we have like our friends that are
Mm,
like responding. Well, some of those people are maybe like friends, like we go out for drinks type of friends, but some of them might just be connected through through another friend, and they're like, oh, I was there. Those are actually also some people
that
that you
makes
could bring
sense.
on to do things like moderate and to
Mm-hmm.
just like go into the chat and comment to other people. And you can just start, if it's wherever it is that you do the most, just start there and say, hey, would you mind being like the face of us and like commenting and, you know, with people. That could be a start, because a lot of the people that first, like our founding team members, were people that we met along the way. Like they weren't necessarily like people I
Right.
knew from my previous work. It was like a lot of people that it was like, hey, we met at PAX, and you're like, oh my gosh, you know how to build, you know, Discord servers. Do you want to do one for us? Or
Mm-hmm.
literally it was someone saying to us, do you all have a Discord? And we're like, a what? Right? And they were like, come on, you don't have a Discord server? And so we're like, no, we need to figure out what that, you know, what that is. Do you want to help us do that? And that's literally how we did a
Oh,
lot of what how we
I
started to
love it.
build
I
as a
love all the
company. Yeah.
networking and like finding
That's super cool.
opportunities in places like
Mm-hmm.
you didn't even expect to find those kinds of opportunities. Like you said, Discord, what? I know
Yeah.
Matt wants to start
Yeah.
a Discord, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this seems like so much work. But now that you said things
I
about
know.
friends, Matt has a lot of friends. I do too. But I think I think Matt's friends would
Mhm.
be
Yeah,
great for that.
exactly.
But Matt, you were gonna say something and I totally cut
Mhm.
you off, and I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. No, I really love and appreciate what you said, Verta, about building a safe community or like a safe space
Mhm.
is not really up to you, right?
Yeah.
It's up to the members of the community to feel safe in that space,
Mhm.
regardless of how much work you can put into it, right? Like
Yeah.
if they don't feel safe, it is ultimately up to them. So what I was curious about is like when there are moments of toxicity, or if something does kind of
Mhm.
float in a way that, shouldn't really be there or shouldn't be handled in that proper way, how do you go about just dealing with that, both in your space if something does kind of
Yeah.
flow in, and outside of it? Because as we know, a lot of gamers aren't exactly the most understanding,
Mhm.
individuals, and there's a lot of toxicity that comes in any form of video game. So how do you deal with it? Like how
Yeah.
do you take care of yourself and the organization?
So we have just a lot of rules, not a lot, but we just have guidelines. And one for our Discord server. And of course, if you do one, just like making sure that people abide by them.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, they acknowledge and say that they're going to do them. Right. And then you can always go back to them later, like to say, oh, this is why we're having this conversation, or
Right.
this is why you're getting a warning, or this is why, you can't be on the server anymore, right? So you have to, before you even set it up, make sure you have those guidelines in place. We even have it for our app, right? I don't know what we call them, like, I don't know,
I don't
guidelines.
remember.
I don't
I
know.
wanted to throw you a
I don't
bone,
even remember the name.
but yes, you
But
definitely
remember,
had
like,
to.
you
I
had to,
was
like,
like, it's called
yeah,
this, but I don't
you have to,
remember.
like, go through
But yes,
that.
there definitely were guidelines.
Yeah. Um, And so I think that first you have to have that, right? You have to establish the boundaries within which we're going to kind of like operate, right?
Hmm.
And then once you have those established, and they can be flexible, because we've actually in our Discord changed some of our rules over time, because we had to be we had to, like, what did the community want more of? So for example, one example was a lot of Discord servers will say English only is the language that you can communicate, because it's
Right.
like, I don't know, the most common. And
Hmm.
we have spaces where we had Latinx folks, we had spaces where we had Indigenous folks. And so we had to actually, and some of them wanted to use their own language in the space that we gave them. So, like, who are we
Hmm.
to say no? So then we had to then decide, okay, we're going to actually change this rule that in the main server, we want English to be what most people use. However, in these other spaces, we are going to do a better job of moderating. We're going to get moderators that speak different languages, or we're going to really, like, use the hell out of Google Translate, so that, and actually
Right.
ask them to help us. So if you see something and you feel that it's like inappropriate, we're asking you to let us know. And so
Hmm.
that was like, and that was a big, there was a big moment for us, because it was like, well, this is the rule, this isn't. And so we had to really work through that. So I'm saying that because you don't have to, just because you wrote it as the rule or
Right.
guideline doesn't mean you can't change it, but you have to
Hmm.
have a basis to start from. So that gives us, as far as like within our own communities, a place to start and say, like, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, and just kind of being like, and zero tolerance for the really, really nasty, raunchy stuff. Like, honestly, no, goodbye, bye-bye. We
Hmm.
don't want to see this, like, picture. We don't want to see this. Like, sorry, it already said you're not going to do this. We're not going to do it. So also you
Right.
have to be firm in that. And a
Hmm.
lot of times that's difficult for people, because they feel like, one, that's being mean. We're going to lose other people because this person's going to get mad, and then they're going to take their
Well,
people
take
with
your
them.
people.
I'm like, y'all can pick your balls up and leave
Take
them. Like,
them.
y'all take your little toys out of this sandbox and take your people with you. Bye-bye. Bye, girl. So it's okay. You have to, though, be okay with that. The
Hmm.
other thing that I'm going to say is that we are not perfect. We have had moments where we were just like, oh, we got called out. We had to fix it. Like, we had to say, okay, we are not doing okay in that area. And you have to be open to that. Um, and open to hearing what people are saying, and then adjusting accordingly, and then also deciding, okay, well, maybe we're not going to adjust that, and we need to be, mindful of that.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah, so that's what I would say. And then we're a larger, we're a larger company now. I'd say, like, we're like teenagers. Maybe we're tweens. We're like a tween company, in that, like, we have, like, the size has grown. We have, like, across all of our platforms, probably like about 500,000 people. So that then also means you have to start bringing people in to kind of do that for you, right? We have an
Hmm.
amazing, our Discord servers. Karina is like a brilliant community manager. We have a very robust moderation team that goes through, I mean, I literally she could, like, package the training that she does, the onboarding that she does. We put them through modules. And so even though it's a volunteer position, we're really preparing them in ways to, like, take this on in other places. The role of community manager is also one that has become extremely broad. What company was it? I was just reading, was it Microsoft? A woman was just recently hired at a big company as their community manager, and they had never had that role before, like a big company, because people are realizing that community management and engaging your community and making sure that these things are happening is it's key. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like a shift that's happening, a beautiful shift in my opinion, to um these like small communities that are networked together and that they can do amazing things. It doesn't always have to
Right.
be 10 million people, right? It could be 500,000 or 5,000, and you could still do like amazing things, but you need people that are always there to take care of and nurture that community. And that's often what gets neglected, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
as we've grown, so like we have Discord community management, we have our head of people does a lot of our kind of like app community management right now, but as that's growing, we're probably going to have to bring in another community manager role to take on some of the other spaces. And we have like our head of our social media team. We have a team that kind of like goes in and like chats people up and does that stuff and helps to kind of like keep an eye on what's happening and things like that. So
Oh my God. So
yeah, I think
incredible
that just
to
like kind of
like
tend to that
hear
garden.
all the
Hmm.
things that you guys are doing, like, and all the things that you have to do to make sure it's running straight. This is going to sound so stupid when I say this, but it's like, oh my God, you
It's
guys are
not.
like a real company. Like, no, you are. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's not stupid to say it. Like, trust me, I feel like that half the time. I'm like, who said, I tell people, like, if you had asked me 3 years ago, if you had said, Verta, you're going to be the co-founder of the gameHERS, or a company in gaming
Mm-hmm.
that is like, we're a media company and platform and networking space for women and we amplify and elevate them, I would have been like, whatever. Like, that sounds fucking crazy.
I
And here we are, we're like
know.
a whole ass company. Like, what
Times
is
are changing.
happening? And so the other thing is, because we're a company, like we're going to be doing a Series A round of funding. We did like a seed round. So that's also like to know, like, we have funding and funders and investors that are helping us along the way to kind of be able to do some of these
So
things
one of my
also.
questions
So
is, what is your
yeah.
actual background, right? So I'm assuming that it was, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, good
assuming it
question.
wasn't in the,
What
because
is
from
my
what you just
background?
said, you know what I mean?
It
So
wasn't.
yeah,
Mm-mm. I feel like I have lived so many lives and careers, and I think it's important for people to know that it's possible to do all of that, and that I am the common thread. I am the common denominator in all the things that I've done and the things that I value and believe. And so, I was a classroom teacher. I and from very, like, I'd say from 16 on, what people like, a community organizer, activist, if you will, president of the Black Student Alliance and Women of Color on campus, picket signs
yes.
in my trunk, like things like that, like way back. And have always been really engaged around anti-oppression
Right.
and anti-racism work. That's
Absolutely.
really been like the core of what I've done, and bringing community around that. And so, um, that brings itself to this role, in that, like, building community. If you can create things that are anti-oppressive, then you can create, like, we can create a world that would be like so dynamic. So that's been like a thread all the way. So as a teacher, I was a school principal. I used to have an arts elementary school in the Bronx. Yes, y'all. I don't know if anybody from here is watching from the Bronx, but yes, big up to the Bronx. And then I went on to work in education nonprofits. Like, I've coached leaders. I then spent a lot of time around the United States doing training around anti-racism and anti-oppression. I've worked in Denver and Oakland, Des Moines, Iowa, Cleveland, Ohio, many places that I'm forgetting, where I would, like, honestly go into spaces where I'd be one of few, sometimes one of the only Black people in the room, talking about this work of, what does it mean, and what would it mean if we really unpacked our own racialized stories, to create a future where, our children and 7 generations from now don't have to live in this place and space where we can predict some outcomes for them just based on who they present as, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's been like so much of my work. And then, in the last couple of years, I've worked a lot with an organization called Civics Unplugged, where we work with Gen Z around civic engagement. And then, around that same time, this opportunity to be one of the founders of the gameHERS presented itself. So Heather and I have known each other. Our sons are both going to be 20 this year, and we've known each other since they were in 4th grade. That's how we met. I was the class mom. I made this ridiculous commitment that I would be class mom at least 1 year for each of my kids. Ooh, what just happened? I don't know what happened.
Probably the internet.
How long was I gone?
I blame the internet for anything.
Yeah.
Not that
How long was I gone?
Yeah.
Like 15 seconds. It wasn't that long.
Right. That was kind of like, do you remember that movie that Jodie Foster was in where she like goes off into space contact, I think it's called? And they were like, you were gone for 15 minutes. She was like, I was gone for 29 years. Like something like that, right? Like,
I always...
That's what that made me think of.
You brought up Jodie Foster.
Can you imagine you came back, you're like, it's been 6 months, I haven't moved.
Like, oh my God. They're like, it's 2024.
I would be mad if we were still sitting here waiting on you. Like, she's going to come. You would be upset.
Mad. Like really, what just happened?
Like,
exactly. So I have no idea what I was talking about before the blip.
The blip. I love that. I think you were just finishing talking about the opportunity the gameHERS presented itself.
Yes. So so we've known each other, and our sons, we met when they were in 4th grade. So 4th grade all the way up to like college now, and it was because I was the class mom that would be sending out emails at like 2 a.m. talking about the day before Halloween, talk about don't bring any swords to school, don't do this, like so late on everything. Like send them, they got a brownies they can buy tomorrow. It was like a hot mess. And she was the only other mom that would be up. And I made this really a joke that probably only a niche group of people who have read the book called The Elegance of the Hedgehog would know. And so I was like, I'm going to dress my son up as the concierge from The Elegance of the Hedgehog. It's a long story, right? And she was like, oh my God, I love that book. So when I read that book in my book club, it was like a love-hate. There's like the camp that despised it, and then there's a camp that loved it. And I was like of the lover camp. So I was like, this is one of my people right now. First of all, you're up at 2 a.m. You're responding to my message, and you love The Elegance of the Hedgehog. So that's kind of how we met. And then we just kind of had this journey of being parents to I'm Black, my son is Black, and her son is white. And this kind of journey of like kind of a lot of things happened, like Trayvon Martin happened during the time. There were things that had happened just in their lives and at school, and just having these conversations as moms about it. And, my son spending a lot of time with her and her family and vice versa, and like what it meant. And we co-facilitated a group at our school around just like talking about race, right? Like, because to me, one of the issues and why we can't get past our history is that we're not willing to actually engage in dialogue. We're a very unpracticed nation when it comes to conversations about race. And so if we could practice that more, what would it mean right? If we could build that muscle, we won't get as defensive. And so that's a lot of the work that I would do when I would travel the country and do sessions and work with different school districts. And so the gameHERS, it felt like kind of this perfect opportunity to bring all of these worlds together that I had been in, because I think that the gaming industry itself is like wicked behind a lot of other industries when it comes to equity, when it comes to what diversity means, inclusion and belonging. Those terms are thrown around a lot these last 2 years, but then when you like peel back that only one layer of the onion, you're just like, oh, but everyone that works there still fits a certain type. Or you do, you bring women on, but then do they stay in the roles? Or I didn't even talk about the racism that exists, right? Like we are the gameHERS, and we're talking about centering women and femme identifying folks, but all of the intersections and all of the other things impact that as well. So that was, so Heather and I, talked about it. She's like, I have this idea. She had been at a conference. She was actually in a room. She and Rebecca were at this session. I think it was like almost like all these like rich white guys talking about gaming is the next thing and how are we gonna, like, business people, right? And there was like, on one hand, she probably count the number of women in the room. It was like, and it was a full room. And so like, was like, what the hell? Like, what's going on here? And so Heather, Laura, and Rebecca had worked together. Laura had founded a company called Mommy Bites, and that then became really big. It was way before. It was like way back before we had things where you could like meet up with people that were like,
Right.
Meetup didn't even exist. So they just like created this community for parents in New York, and then it grew and grew and grew. Heather came on, and then Rebecca, and they founded that. They sold that company, and then were looking for another area where they could have an impact on people's lives. And so that's how we kind of all came together, sat down and said, all right, let's do it. Drinks were obviously
I mean,
involved. Anything,
like,
any great idea.
most of the best
like,
ideas involve a little bit, right? Yeah.
some good cocktails, right? So so I don't even know, honestly, if I
No, you
answered any
did.
of the question that
No,
was
you
asked, but here
absolutely
we are.
did. And I just want to say, like, I am so incredibly inspired by the work that you do. And one of the things I wanted to say is, like, before, when Matt asked me to come on to the podcast, it was like mostly focused on mental health and gaming. But like, I can't be in a space without talking about being Black and my experience. And so being on this
Yeah.
podcast, and one of the reasons why I really wanted you on this podcast is because you're another Black woman who has been successful at what she's doing. And it's so inspiring for me and for other people to see that, for little girls to see that. Because I know, like, you growing up and me growing up, we just weren't really in media like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we were the best friend.
No, I
I feel
do.
like the Cosbys was the closest thing that we had on TV at the time that was just a Black family flourishing in a very, very positive way. And so growing up, I really wanted to create more. I wanted to see myself more. I wanted to see a lot more Lapitas and a lot less Holly Berries. And I know that sounds weird to some people who don't get it, but I could go on and on about it, but like, we are such diverse people, even in our skin tones, and it's still being it's still not being represented fully, right?
Yeah.
So seeing
agree.
that you, like, this strong, beautiful Black woman, has stepped into this role and has
so sweet.
taken this idea that you had over drinks with a very good friend and turned it into this company, this huge company. It's incredible. It's so incredible. I don't want to get emotional because I just don't know a lot of women who have done that, and especially in an industry that, like, I grew up and I love. Like, I love gaming, and it hurt me extremely to find out, like, years later, that there was gatekeeping, because I just felt like games are for everyone. Like, my dad would take me and we would rent video games from Blockbuster when Blockbuster was a thing, and yeah.
Oh
And
yeah,
we would just,
Blockbuster.
that's what I'm saying.
Get it out for the weekend.
Yes.
Got to put it back in the little slot.
So it was just everybody.
Blockbuster card.
Like, growing up with kids, everybody was playing games. It wasn't like this, like, oh, this really angry group of people who have decided to, like, just be assholes all the time. And so finding gameHERS was just really, really awesome. And finding out that a Black woman was one of the co-founders was really fucking awesome. And so, like, yes.
That means a lot to me. I so appreciate that, and thank you for sharing it. Right, I think that I'm a big believer of, let's like share these things and connect with people, and give them their flowers while they're here on this like living planet. So thank you for that, and that was also very important to me. Right, so I have a daughter. I was a little Black girl, and I do think that being seen and gives you the opportunity to see yourself in something. And it's not even that it has to be like starting a company. It's just like within this industry. And what I was saying before about how far behind the gaming industry is, it's so shocking considering that games are supposed to be just pretty equal, right? Like, literally, identity is not supposed to even matter, right? Because you don't even have to see me when we're playing a game, right? It's a headset, it's a controller, it's a phone, it's whatever. And so the way that it was intended, it's beautifully no labels, right? However, what happens is that we then replicate what society does, right? And I think that what we have an opportunity to do now is to, turn to like put a, stop that wheel from turning in that way. And it's my hope that we can do that. And I think one of the ways to do that is to start your
Right.
own things. And I mean, like, being a creator, like, this is something that you're doing that is your own. And I think, and I'm not saying that you can't do it with big gaming companies, things of that nature. I'm not saying that. I think it's both um, and I think that that's really important, right? Like, that continue on your path, and just like continue connecting with people, because it's just so important. And look, I still struggle. I still, we are a baby company. We're a startup. We ain't making that much money yet, so brands out there want to support us, want to do all those things. Like, that's important to know. We are definitely here to stay. We're definitely making like great partnerships, and we are making revenue, but we want to make more. So, and that's the thing, right? Like, I also want to keep it 100 with people. Like, yes, I'm a co-founder of a company, of 2 companies right now, but it took me a long time in my life to even do that. And what I want is for younger generations to start doing that now, to start saying, like, and understanding that you are indeed the special sauce. You don't need to find it. Anything that people are saying about you now, the things that they picked on you about, like, even myself, like, was kind of a quirky Black girl. And I was also like, kind of got along with everyone. But I wasn't always, I think those things weren't amplified as like what makes you special, right? Like, it's just that I'm just special, like, because I exist. And I want to, people need to know that, and don't feel like just because there's other people doing it, you can't. You can. The example I use is like, if sneaker companies, they cared that other people had sneakers, then we wouldn't have everybody's trying to, there's Nike, there's Converse, like, you can get whatever you want. So why couldn't that be for so many other things? So yeah. But it's not easy. And I think that the imposter syndrome, the struggles of like what it is to do a startup, like, all those things still very much exist. And like, trust me, there have been times where I've just wanted to like choke people out, but I couldn't, because it was like, that we might need to be an investor. It's an investor call. We didn't necessarily invest. We didn't necessarily, we didn't hear back from, and if we did hear back from, we didn't like go with the people that I wanted to choke out. But there's definitely been moments where I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, literally, like, I don't believe that's that. I've played this game my whole life, and I've never played with a woman.
I could see why you wanted to choke some people out.
First of all,
especially getting comments.
And
like
I was like,
yeah,
clearly that's a personal problem. Like, and 2, you don't know. You cannot tell me that you played Valorant or you played at these ranked things and you've never played with a woman. Most women get onto those
games and they don't say that they're women just because you get harassed.
Exactly.
So why would you go out there and like wear a sign about it and be like, yeah, I'm a woman.
Know?
Well, yeah, like bring on the harassment.
Exactly. It was just so yeah, I really wanted to choke I wanted to choke him out.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Mainly because we were
Your face
Zoom.
probably said it. Your face probably said it.
I mean, I've worked so hard to fix this face. Like, that's
really
been a thing whole life.
Like, my face will give away.
Whole life. And I'm still only like 60% good at it. But I've spent my whole life trying to fix this face.
People be saying stuff and you just like...
So... So something I was curious about, because has a better way to, has your relationship changed with your kids at all as you've worked within gameHERS and kind of, helped grow it? Because, to have a parent be such a important, prominent figure in the video game industry who is doing meaningful work, right? Like, have you learned from them? Have they learned from you? Like, how has your relationship grown or changed with your kids, if it has?
I think that it hasn't because of this. What I will say is that because I've always like, my son started playing like video games when he was like 2 years old, and it was like ridiculous. He knew how to use a controller, and people would be like, how's he able to do that? I was like, I don't know. But we didn't necessarily stop it, right? We had guidelines around it as he got older. We were like, okay, like during the week and he had sports and stuff, you can't like be on your games, but on the weekend he could play as much as he wanted, like as he got older. But still, and my daughter, she wouldn't consider herself a gamer now, but she definitely was she's still into The Sims, but she don't call herself a gamer. She was very into, she's a builder, and she used to like build things like just so she was very into American Girl dolls. I'm going on a tangent.
No,
Maybe I'll get
please.
back to what I'm supposed to be answering. But she used to be really into American Girl dolls, right? She had this whole period of time. But American Girl dolls, first of all, have you ever been to this store?
Did they have the little book called Addie? And it was like that's the
Yes, they
only
had
black
Addie,
little girl.
exactly.
She
Addie used to be the only black one, but now they've definitely. Oh yeah, it was a whole problem.
I got
it was.
that.
I mean, my daughter. I mean, she literally wrote a letter
Yes.
to American Girl doll one year. I have to find it about why she wanted them to have like more dark skin or black dolls. Now she got that. Her era of loving them though. You could actually make your own doll, so you didn't have to buy the like Girl of the Year. This is a whole listen. This is a whole education. Anyone out there, people in the comments gonna be like, if you're about this life, you're about this American Girl doll life. So we was really in the trenches for a minute, and so. So it's like it's not cheap. So we would like rarely buy her the like accoutrements, the things. Like we'd get the doll and that's like what we could invest in, but we would go to the store and she would get the magazines and then she would look at it and she would literally build the kitchens and the houses. Like, I mean, and she would spend, and these would be like elaborate, and she's brilliant. Like the way that her brain worked, like we were just talking about. So we just walked by the American Girl doll store, like I think it was yesterday. And now they have like, they can get a little TV for your American Girl doll and it'll actually play something on it. I don't know how much that mess cost. We would never have purchased it, but we didn't purchase the TV that you couldn't do that with. So she was telling me about, she's like, Mom, have you seen what they can do now with these? I was like, no. She used to cut like little pictures out of like magazines to like paste onto the little TV to make it. So we were just talking about that. She's always been a builder. So she liked Minecraft and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so we just were a family that encouraged it. And so it wasn't that they couldn't do that. I think the thing is around like, oh, wow. I think the thing that's cool now is if I'm like, oh, if I get like fun things in the mail or if I get like a Discord plushie or if like a company sends me like makeup or something, those are the things that are now like, oh, or if I'm like, a certain person that I'm talking to on a podcast or whatever, right? Oh, that's so cool, Mom. So I think it's more like that aspect of it. But I don't think another thing that I'll say is like, I've always tried to instill in them that like kind of whatever it is that you're good at or that you're passionate about can be what you do as your career. And so they were always around my work. So they would go to school with me when I was a principal. They would go to different like schools and sessions when I was like supporting other principals and things like that. And they would always see me kind of doing the work that I do. So I don't think that it's like, I don't know if it's like developed it. I think it's just more of an evolution of their relationship with them now because they're older and can see it. And, I do get some tips and stuff like that from them now because I play more now than I was playing before. So things like that are kind of fun. And it's kind of,
brought me back to the
cool.
Addie days.
Yeah.
But you could not buy, there were no houses back when I got, it was just the book.
Oh, they had like,
of course, Addie was like a former slave.
Much now.
You know what I mean? Like that was
exactly. It was
the
tragic.
Only black doll.
It was a real situation,
and I loved it.
It's
how much are these dolls? Like on average,
so expensive. I mean, I don't know now. It's probably even more, but I think like one doll could be anywhere between $100 and $200,
really
right?
pricey.
Okay, yeah, these are pricey dolls.
I think they came out with the
dolls.
books first, and then there were the dolls. I want to say that because I don't remember.
I don't even know that. Yeah,
them having an Addie doll when I got the book. I believe it was a book series first.
Got it. So the book came out first.
I got the book because it was a little black girl. And you read the story, and it's like a slave story, but you love the book because you can relate, right? But yeah,
exactly. And I can't even say, so I think like the diversity of them, and look, I'm not even trying to get sued by American Girl doll right now or anything like that, but I'm not saying that it's super diverse now. We have been out of that for a while, but it's kind of like looking at if we were to put the presidents of the United States up, that's how diverse they are. Like it's like, and now I think they're doing better. Like they even had a gamer. Their like doll of the year was a gamer one year.
They need to do better.
Yeah, super cute. So they're trying, I think, to kind of like, but
they need to do better. I mean, like it always blows my mind that like we live in the United States and it's still so white. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so many different people here, and it's still so. And I think a lot of people. have the wrong idea about how many like African Americans or Black people or people of color are in the U.S. Because a lot of people from the outside assume, and I don't know why they assume this. They assume that it's half and half, and I'm like, it's not. It's not half
they
and
do.
half.
I know.
It's definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one aspect of that is it's by design, right? So we have to, part of just my work is like we do a lot of just historical work.
Right.
We have to like look at the history of education, history of an industry, and the history of the United States, and we have to reckon with that fact, right?
No, he's
are you
just
waving
doing
at
things
us?
with his
Stop
life.
No,
talking.
sorry, my camera freezes sometimes, so I'm
okay.
just.
I was like, wait, what
I'm
happened?
freezing it. Sorry.
I love it. She's like,
Didn't mean
"Oh,
to
are you
distract.
waving at us?"
And-
Hi. What's up?
Are you waving at us?
Yeah, my camera hangs randomly sometimes.
Hey. And I do think that people, there are many reasons, but two reasons that stand out a lot for why people from the outside looking in think that there are more, I'm going to say just Black people in the United States, is because one, everyone wants to take from Black culture, and Black culture and Black thought and Black imagination and Black creativity is like dominates the globe. So you have to, it's like almost unimaginable to think that, what are we, maybe like 13 to 18% of the population could only be that many that identify as, but this is like blowing up all over. Maybe I might have my math wrong. I'm going to Google so that we don't have that wrong.
After this,
but like that's, I think people are like, whoa, how is that even possible? Right? It has to be more.
Just letting you know.
And then I think
I hope you're able to like edit this
so
it looks
again.
decent.
I'm going to pause for a minute.
I'll try. Yeah, I'll try.
I love her.
Also, I looked up pickle and peanut, and not what
it's a pickle
I
and a peanut. Like that, it's pickle and peanut.
I totally stopped because y'all were frozen.
It dropped.
Yeah,
so you
we're
said,
back. We're good now.
Damn it! I just said where she stopped, Matt.
13 to 18% of the population.
Yes, so I'm not sure if that is. Let me look. I mean, I feel like we have to Google that number. What percentage of U.S. is? I'm going to say that. See, it comes up right.
Yes,
13.4%. Look at me with my statistics. So I think it's hard for people to think that such a small percentage could create,
because we really do
influence, right? And you know, right? And then the other thing that happens a lot, and this has to do, this is with any marginalized group, that when that number becomes a larger subset in spaces, people start to think that it is equal or more than something else. So for example, if you are in, I'll even say, like right now, if we were to use like Asian men and women in gaming, I don't know that their percentage would be super large, but because you see a larger subset of Asian men maybe as competitive gamers on esports teams, people start to be like, oh, they're like half of all gamers. Actually, no, they're a subset that makes up a group, but that doesn't mean that. And people start to then do that, and then they start to build this false narrative, and then they start to say, well, it's actually equal, or it's actually good, or whatever, and it's not true. Actually, if we were to look then at other aspects of gaming for for Asian American or Asian population, like it's not going to be that. Like they're also not getting like their due in certain areas, in certain spaces. And so I think that's the other thing that happens, is that you start to say, or you see the media, or you go to a certain area of town and you're like, oh, well, this town is like, predominantly Black. So all of America is predominantly Black. No, it's not like that.
Thank you for, you put that perfectly into words. Cause I feel like I used to come up in South Korea, when people are asking, when Trump won, a lot of people would come up to me and be like, well, how did you guys let this happen? I'm like, what do you
like, hello?
You know what I'm saying? So I was just like,
that's hilarious. You're like, there's the Midwest, there's the South, like,
I'm sorry,
and then also,
off, but yes,
people think of, people think of major cities. They often also think of major cities as the only example of the United States.
That's Hollywood's fault, because everything major happens in major cities. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's wild.
Exactly. New York City, or San Francisco, or LA, and then even those are not as diverse as people think either, but it's just they're more diverse.
I wanted to say like, that's not the first time I've had like somebody's blamed me, or like talk to me about like a president. I remember when
It's
Obama
crazy.
won, I lived in Florida and I was working at Starbucks. I remember this vividly. We just closed and like they had just announced that he had won like his first election. And I'm like I'm leaving and I'm walking to my car and this white man, I have no idea who he is, runs up to me and he's like, "Oh my God, you guys did it." Like he's super excited.
Well, I have to go back
We
though
did
to
do
the
it.
voting. We
But I
did do
was
that.
just like,
When we look at the
okay,
statistics
thank
of Black women, how they voted versus Black men versus every other demographic, we did do that thing. And sadly,
It's
when it comes to elections in the
usually is
United
us.
States, it
Yeah.
generally is
Yeah.
on the backs of Black women that the lesser of all the evils
It's like this
is
narrative
chosen.
where they're talking about like Black men. This is a whole nother conversation, but Black men. Right?
I know we're getting into all the conversations.
Oh,
We might have to have
I'm
our own
ready,
little
I'm ready,
podcast.
I'm
I
ready.
mean, dang, like we over here
But
talking
like
about all
Black
the
men
things.
looking to, or you know, when Biden was running, they kind of this kind of came up in conversation, like people depending on Black women to make that happen, right? Like within the demographic of people of color. And it's kind of wild because it goes to kind of like this toxic place of like Black women always having to be strong, you know, not being able to take a break.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's why it's so incredible to have you come on and to be so vulnerable about your journey and what you're doing and what you've worked on. Because while you're strong, you're still a woman. You still make mistakes, and you've been very open about that. And I absolutely love that.
I'm human. Girl. I'm a hot mess over here.
I'm a
beautiful disaster.
I love it.
I think there's a song called that.
It sounds like a Rihanna
I'm a beautiful
song
disaster.
Or something.
Probably.
But
it has to be.
Moving on to our last question, so we can round this up. If you've ever, like I said, we always kind of like to bring it back to mental health because that's one of the main things we focus on. Has there been a form of media, a game, maybe a movie or music that has ever gotten you through like a really tough time?
Yeah. I would definitely say that the media would be music, right? For me. And it's so funny, like it's almost full circle about why I was so excited to have a record player in my room. And I didn't even realize that why I have on this MTV shirt. Like, so it's really weird because, so I'm going to say a couple of things about that. So MTV, I remember, I think it was 1986 or 7. It's either 86 or 89. I'm inverting the numbers. When Whitney Houston came out with How Will I Know, I believe was her first video for MTV. And it was I remember seeing Whitney Houston on MTV and like losing my shit because it was the first time that like a gangly, because she was super gangly at that time too. You know, she was really slim, these long arms and legs, and like just like singing in her little 80s look. And she's a darker skinned girl. And I was like, oh my, who is this? And at that time, you had to wait. Like it was a new video, but like I couldn't just rewind it. I had to wait. It would come like what, like, you know, on the like 10 of every hour or something like that when it was a new video that came out. And I was like, I just sat there wanting to see that over and over and over again because they had cast her also as just like the beautiful lead. She was just a cute girl, like, you know, singing her song. And so that was really pivotal for me to see that imagery. And, you know, I feel like it was a turning point for me in that, one, realizing how little of it was there, but how amazing it was, these opportunities to see it. And so for me, music has just always been kind of the thing that I'll go to. And I'm like the worst person, right? If you live next door to me, you will hate it because if I'm going through something, that shit's on repeat like all the time.
Same song for like 3 hours.
Sade is one of my all time. She has this song that's called It's Only Love That Gets You Through. That is just a brilliant song. And it's like, girl, you are rich even with nothing is one of the lines. And she just like, it just speaks to my soul in that there are times where, if lots of things are going on or if I'm feeling down, it kind of like speaks to the fact that even with nothing, I have everything. And that love, it's only love that gets you through. And it's not the love, I don't see it as
Right.
like this romantic love of like a partner. It's like kind of having that in me. Like, and my motto in life is that I am all love with appropriate doses of
I
rage.
love
I
it.
tell people that all the time because at the core of it, I am with appropriate doses of rage, because if things don't get you angry, I think it kind of can mean that you don't have any boundaries or
Right.
you're not firm in those. And like part of being in this industry and why the gamers started is because, yeah, we're like angry about that. We don't think that women should not make like, you know, as much as men. We don't think that women shouldn't be on teams. We don't think that women should have to go through all
Mm-hmm.
this toxic nonsense, right? That gets me mad. But
Mhm.
all of the things that I do come from this place of love. And so Sade has been one of like, just like I go back to that over and over. And now another thing that is like this funny story. I can't believe I'm sharing this, but my daughter knows every word to Adele. 21, I believe she did, was 20 was her, she did 19. You know, her albums are based on the year that how old she is when they're released. So the first one was 19, then she did 21. And I think that's the one that really catapulted her. And I think I went and saw her at the Beacon Theater. I was going through a divorce. My daughter knows like every word. And one day she said to me, she's like, Mom, why do I know all the songs to these Adele? To like this Adele album. I was like, girl, because I was going through it, honey child. That's all we was listening to. It was, I think it was a breakup album. I'm not sure if it was 21 or that she has another one in her 20s, but it was hilarious. And so it was just like one of those things that I just like kept playing because it's just, I find that music can so often, what musicians are able to do is really like speak
Yes.
to your soul, and say things in a way that that you just can't express or that I can't. That's probably why I'm not a musician. So it's music is the media for me that kind of helps me when I just have, I don't know, when I'm down. I would say especially when I'm down. It also helps me when I'm up. Like I love Christmas
I love
music,
Christmas music.
and sometimes I'll just
I'll
listen to
listen
it
to it
midway through the
randomly.
year, just because I'm like I need to get a
Give me
little
a little
like
Nat King Cole.
little
Like,
joy.
I love it.
Maybe a little bit, I know, like R&B
Yes.
Christmas, soul
Oh
Christmas.
my
Give me
God.
all of that.
Random
Oh my
tangent. When I was
gosh,
dating
yeah.
my ex James, we're best friends now. We're so good. He's getting married next month. Um
Mm-hmm.
he gave me, I was obsessed with Boys to Men's version of Let It Snow. And he gave me like it's so
It's a good one.
good. It's, it's
It's
so
a
good.
good one. Look, I love Christmas music. It's insane. And I'm
Yeah,
not like
same.
super
Same.
religious. Like I don't even go to church for Christmas. Like none of it. But that Christmas music, as soon as it's time to put that on,
It like
I am in
transfers you
it
to like
to
another
win
time. Like
it.
it's just such a
Okay?
happy place. But
Love
yeah,
it.
I love it. And Cherish the Day by Sade is like all me. My mom used to listen to her all the time. So
Oh,
good.
it's such a good one
But
too.
you know
She's so
what?
good.
I'm so happy that
Yeah.
we got to have you on. Like I am like, yes, this
I'm
is
so happy to be here. This
oh
has really helped me.
thank
Yeah, this has been
you.
lovely conversation. Yeah, I've been like I said, I've been going through all the feels today. This has been really great. And I think sometimes because there's a lot of it's Women's
Yeah.
History Month. There's like all this pressure sometimes to like, oh, be this person or moderate this panel, and this felt very much just like I can
Yes.
have a conversation with
And
you
that's
and
the
I
way
don't
we
feel
want it
any
to be.
stress. So,
Yes.
if that is one of the goals, if that
Yes.
is one of the goals of your
Yep.
show, you've
Thank
absolutely
you. We
you've
are going to
absolutely
honor you
achieved it.
for, Women's Month. Like, it's fine. I'm going to do that. But, but I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us. If you ever have anything that you want to showcase or talk about with the gameHERS, please feel free to make this your home. And you could always come back. You are so welcome to come back.
Thank you.
And before we end
Mhm.
it, for
Thank you so
anybody who
much.
wants to learn more about
Mhm.
gameHERS, who wants to know more about you, can you drop your socials
Yes.
for our listeners?
Yes. We are TheGameHERS in all the places. So the gameHERS, all the places. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Discord. Just go find the gameHERS, as well as on LinkedIn. I am Verta at thegamehers.com, and I'm at Verta. I mean, literally, if you type Verta and then get to the M of my last name, I'm like the only one on the planet. So it's really, sadly, it's not
Lovely.
very hard to
Thank
find
you
me.
for that. And guys, we will definitely put all of that information down below so you can just click on it. And for our male listeners as well, please go support them. Like, we need so much support from all
Mhm.
Yes.
sides, right? Like, even though this is called the gameHERS, it's not just about women. It's about including a positive outlook and kind of building with that outlook and making a better space for everyone to game and feel comfortable and happy, because like we just want to play games, we just want to have fun, and that's what they were for. So again, it was lovely having you on. Please tell me you'll come on again, because this was amazing. Yes,
I will come on again. We'll find another. When is
it
Mental
is in
Health
May.
Awareness Month in May?
Yes.
Okay, so
Ooh.
maybe we can do something together then, because we also do some
nice.
stuff around
okay,
that as well.
We'll
So
talk. Oh my god, I'm
Perfect.
so excited. I feel like I made a new friend.
Yeah, awesome. Me
But
too.
that is it from us, guys. Thanks again for always sticking with us and supporting us. We love you. And really quick before I go, do not forget to help donate to Guardians Mental Health. They take... Guys, they are absolutely incredible. They take time from their personal, whatever they're doing, their job or whatever. They do not get paid for this, to make these kits for people who may need them, whether they're going through depression, anxiety. They're free. The kits are absolutely free, which is why we're doing the fundraiser. So check us out on our Twitter, check us out on our Facebook, wherever we are. We'll definitely have the link where you can donate. And if you donate, you get a chance to win some amazing prizes, which Matt is going to tell you about right now.
Yeah, thank you, Destiny. Anyway, so if you wanted to win some 3-month Game Pass Ultimate codes courtesy of our friends at Xbox Canada, or a whole bunch of awesome PlayStation games, including Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition for PS4, Horizon Forbidden West for PS4 and PS5, and Gran Turismo 7 for PS4, please just donate whatever you can, and you will be entered to win one of our fantastic prizes. Because again, it just takes $10 to make a kit for someone in need. So again, all those links will be in the description. So please donate if you can, and you might win something cool.
The prizes are for US and Canada only, because they're physical, and like we ain't got the money to send them like around the world. So
keeping it real.
This has been Burnout Brighter and Verta and Matt, and guys, we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Everyone, we hope you have been enjoying Mental Health Power Up as much as we have. These conversations are incredibly important, and we very much appreciate your time. But these conversations aren't the only thing that we're doing, Destiny. What is the second part to this?
Guys, the second part is pretty baller. So we are going to be asking you guys to donate money and share the information about the podcast, but specifically about Guardians Mental Health. They're this great organization that uses geek culture, the things that we absolutely love, comics, gaming, video games, to kind of help people who are struggling mentally and in a therapeutic way. And they put together these kits that they send out, and you don't have to pay for these kits. This is one of the most amazing things about what this organization is doing. They're sending out these kits, but obviously it takes money to print the materials, to get everything put together. And that's why we're raising money for them, because we want to help them so that they can help more of you guys. And Matt has got some amazing details about what you can win if we reach certain tiers.
That's right. You just need to donate to be entered. There is no amount that is too small or too large. Whatever you're able to do, $10 is what it costs to make these kits. So if you can do that, fantastic. If you could do absolutely anything, we would appreciate it. As we hit different stretch goals, we are going to be giving out different amazing gifts that we have for some amazing people that we're working with. So please hop over to that link, take a look. If you can donate, please do so. And you might just win something cool for yourself as well, because again, every little bit can make a difference in someone's life. So we thank you for taking the time to do so. If you can, if you can't, Destiny, if somebody can't donate, what else can they do to help?
They can just share the information. Share it to your social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you have like a place that you like to interact with people online, share that information. And one of the things that I wanted to say, and I know Matt and Darren feel the same way, is we just want to thank you guys, because for each one of you that shares or donates, I'm just going to say it prematurely. Thank you so much. This is so important to us, and it's important to our listeners. And it's one of the main reasons why we even started the podcast. Like, not only was it about gaming, but mental health has definitely been a strong core that we've always wanted to talk about. So this is our first time doing it. We're super excited. We hope you're excited. And yeah, donate, share the information, win some prizes. But most of all, just do it from the bottom of your heart. You know what I mean? Like, the prizes are just kind of like icing on top of the cake.
Exactly. So please be there for one another. Help us reach other people who might need to hear some of this, because we know how much it's helped us. So thank you. Like Destiny said, we'll see you on the next one, everybody. All the links will be in the show notes below. Check it out. Bye.